Yesterday, I was able to witness the debut of Tigers' top prospect, Jackson Jobe, the top pitching prospect, number 25 prospect in all of baseball, made his Major League Spring Training debut. It was with much fanfare. It was promoted very well throughout Michigan, so I knew all about it. I knew he wasn't going to be starting. Kenta Maeda was actually the starting pitcher that day. I thought they'd bring him in after Maeda's 3 or 4
Right.
innings, whatever he's ramping up to, but ended up not being until the ninth inning. They built up AJ Hinch built up the suspense as much as he possibly could, finally bringing in Jackson Jobe in the ninth inning when the Tigers had a 1-0 lead. So they're actually in a save situation, pretty high leverage, as high leverage as spring training games get. I have never seen Jackson Jobe pitch. I've heard about him. He was drafted in 2019 by Al Avila, and I was looking back in our archives. I called Al Avila crafty for drafting the high school pitcher. I think he was 17, maybe 18 at the time, but definitely one of the top. He was the top high school pitching prospect in the draft that year. I was a little nervous about that, but he also drafted Ty Madden in that draft. So those are two top 10 picks. That's why I was applauding Al Avila for getting that done. Little did I know, very few other things would work out for Al, but Job was an imposing figure on the mound. He's 6'2", 190 pounds. Looked 100% ready to pitch. He did not look overwhelmed by the moment at all. The only issues were his first two pitches were balls. So I thought maybe he's a little bit too amped up, maybe because he was throwing over 100 miles an hour already. Uh, he settled down and got a ground out for his first major league out. After that, he topped out at 102 miles an hour. He had coupled that with an 85-mile-an-hour changeup. That's his part of it. Those are the highlights of his 4-pitch repertoire. Got 2 strikeouts. Just it was electric. I mean, as excited as I've been for one inning of a spring training game in a while. Of course, I'm looking for anything to be excited about my teams in March, so that it was just a fun moment. But you look at his minor league stats from 2023. He got up to Double A, and in 64 innings, he had 84 strikeouts and only 6 walks. And that is all you can ask for out of a 21-year-old pitching prospect at this time. Don't walk people, but if you're striking out way more than one an inning, you're in good shape there. So he looked every bit the part of a top pitching prospect. It was fun to watch. He's not breaking camp with the major league club for opening day. AJ Hinch announced that I think before spring training even started. So there was no real question that he'd be in the rotation possibly. I think within a couple months, I think maybe by May, June, we might actually see Jackson Jobe in the majors. Depending on how the rotation fleshes out, how hopefully no injuries, of course. As a Tigers fan, we have seen so many pitching injuries with our young pitchers over the years, so I'm always a bit gun shy. I was actually not real ecstatic seeing him throw 102 miles an hour in his first appearance because I'm just worried about shit happening. He hasn't had many injury issues in his career, so it's a little bit, maybe I'm just a bit too nervous about shit like that. But depending on how other pitchers come back after injuries from last year, we'll see how that rotation fleshes out. Right now, it's Tarek Skubal as our ace. He's potentially a Cy Young candidate. If you take a look at what he did in the second half of 2023, he's right there after he came back from an elbow surgery, I believe. But after that, we've got Kenta Maeda, who's a crafty vet. I did like that move by Scott Harris in the offseason, picking him up from division rival Minnesota. Jack Flaherty's going to pencil in at number 3. I think similar to like Michael Lorenzen last season, he's told people that he wanted to come to Detroit because he thought Detroit could make him better. And that's the Chris Fetter effect that we've talked about for years now, the pitching coach for the Tigers, that they know what they're doing over there, and they've been able to get the most out of young pitchers and reclaim pitchers like Michael Lorenzen last year that really had one of his best seasons. I think Jack Flaherty's looking to have similar results. So he had a fantastic 2018. Is it 2019? I forget. We talked about this a couple episodes ago, but and he's been kind of steadily declining since then. So that's kind of a wishful approach that the Tigers can find something, but they've done it before. So if he can reclaim some of the magic he's had before, he'd be a very nice number 3 starter. After that, it looks like Matt Manning's going to be the number 4, which Manning was great last year until he got hurt twice on 2 bizarre comebackers that broke his foot twice in a row. He was out for a period of months after being hit in the foot with a line drive. Came back. I forget how many starts it was, but it was very few. And he got hit by the second hardest hit ball in MLB. Happened to go right at his foot again, and so just a lot of bad luck for Matt Manning. But when he's healthy, he's more than serviceable as a number 4 starter. So I like that. After that, we've got a battle between Casey Mize and Reese Olson, which it looks like Mize might take that number 5 role, which would be pretty impressive after he has not pitched in 2 years after major back injuries and elbow injuries. So I'd be happy with Reese Olson also, who really came on the scene last year and looked very solid. So that for number 5 would be great. But I'm nervous about Mize just because of the injury history, of course. He's bigger. He's gained like 20 pounds of muscle since we last saw him pitch, which that also makes me nervous because so many times you see players bulk up in the off season, they pull a oblique or something. I'm kind of waiting for that to happen. Plus, with his injury history, not real sure. But the good news is that the Tigers have lots of young depth. That if they do suffer some injuries, they can call upon that. And again, this is all working within the AL Central, which is easily the worst division in baseball the last several years. So they're kind of their rotation doesn't necessarily have to match up with the best in all Major League Baseball. It just has to match up against their division. And I think it measures up pretty favorably. So we'll get into our Nostradamus annual projection or prediction show probably in next week or 2 weeks from now before the season starts. We'll talk about how I think the Tigers will match up in that AL Central. The rotation is looking kind of where I was hoping it would look at this point.
Word Hole Media.